Welcome to the Big Island. Look what we've got here.
Matching shirts. Aloha.
Aloha.
This is the Grand Highlander gas model. We're doing a totally separate video on the hybrid and the hybrid max, so make sure you click on the card for that. Let's go for a ride. Turbo
4. It's got some good power, actually. This is the gas model.
I was going to go 8-speed automatic, but that's wrong. 8-speed automatic. All right, let's get into this base model, new turbo. What's under the hood of this thing, Andrea?
A 2.4-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder with an 8-speed automatic transmission. 265 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque. Standard all-wheel drive in Canada, but front-wheel drive and all-wheel drive options are available in the U.S.
So it's so nice that they actually have the base model for us to drive. That's what we're in. The XLE is the base model in Canada, all-wheel drive, smaller wheels, and all of that. So what do you get with it? What are the key standard features?
The base trim comes with a 12.3-inch touchscreen, wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, a 7-inch multi-information display, a wireless charger, 10-way power driver seat, 8-way power passenger seat, 8-passenger bench seat, soft text upholstery, heated front seats, a heated steering wheel, a power liftgate, and Toyota Safety Sense 3.0. In the US, both captain's chairs and a bench seat are available on the base trim. A heated steering wheel is available one up from the base model.
So many buttons here, Andrea. Eco, Sport, Dirt, Mud, Sand, Snow. It's got everything. What else can we put it in?
Gotta put it in S for subscribe. And if you can hit that notification bell, you'll be notified when all of our reviews drop, and then you can watch them.
And we do this, the couple car review twice a week. The first one drops on Wednesday.
We put another one out on Saturday.
So make sure you like and subscribe, but also follow along on Instagram. It's Motormouth_Andrea to get a sneak peek what's going on behind the scenes. For me, it's Motormouth_Auto, and the links are below the like button. This video is brought to you by Car Cost Canada. Get the dealer's cost, list of rebates, plus discounted interest rates. Use the promo code Motormouth to become an expert member and get extra searches. The link is in the description below. So many different types of pavement here. Some of it's broken up, a big open countryside. How are you liking it on these roads?
I really like this Grand Highlander a lot. It's not as floaty as the Highlander. It feels a little bit more planted. There's plenty of power. I like the torque figure in this model. So when you accelerate or when you're passing on the highway, you know, it's really easy. And then the other thing is the steering is a little bit heavier than the Highlander model, which is something I also prefer.
Yeah, so mid-range torque is great because you've got a turbocharged engine now. And the turbocharged engine provides a lot more benefits, greater fuel economy, greater torque, greater power delivery. It really does make a more satisfying vehicle to drive. And this is the base model. I wouldn't miss the V6 at all.
No, same here. This has got an acoustic glass windshield. Toyota really worked to keep the noise level down in this cabin. So I think that you'll notice a difference. It's easy to maneuver. Turning radius is quite good. I like the visibility in the cabin. It feels really open, and also sitting up and over the dash, I like it.
So this is a biggie, right? It's the Grand Highlander. Big. How big? About the same size as the Volkswagen Atlas. But that's a big boxy vehicle. Driving this, to be honest with you, you don't really notice the dimensions. It feels kind of like, doesn't feel like the regular Highlander, but it doesn't feel big and ominous. It's actually quite comfortable and easy to maneuver.
Like I said, it has a real planted feel to it. And another vehicle that I would compare this to, where, you know, you drive it, it's a large vehicle, but it doesn't feel that way when you're driving it, is the Mazda CX-90, which is a little bit smaller than this.
Okay, so you've got to really kind of run the numbers in your head. This gas model is cheaper. You can get the hybrid or the hybrid max version. I got to tell you, Andrea, other than a few creature comforts like memory seats, I would be totally happy with this.
Well, you get the larger touchscreen in here. It's standard, of course, with wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. It's the new updated Toyota system. What you are missing is the 12.3-inch digital driver display. It's 7-inch.
I'm totally fine with that too.
Same.
I think this package with this new power plant is really quite good. And then you get into the design of the outside. This, a lot of people, we thought when we first saw it at the Toronto Auto Show, is it looks like a a RAV4 that went to the gym.
Yeah, it kind of does. Toyota says that this really is inspired by the Highlander, but I
don't see it.
No, I see the front grille really having a Lexus vibe. That's one of my favorite parts of this vehicle.
Yeah.
And then I see RAV4, especially some of the different angles. I think they've done a nice job with the design. I think this is probably my favorite exterior design SUV from Toyota. And I like the sophistication and elegance it offers. That rear is very simple looking. It's well done.
Yeah, and you know what? They really think that this is going to probably surpass the popularity of the Highlander, because the top Highlanders bump into the price range of this, and for a lot of people they're going to just run the numbers and say, well, I can spend the same money, I can get a bigger vehicle, I get more space for everybody, and I got this new power plant. That's like, sign me up.
This comes standard with LED headlights and LED taillights. And with this base model, you get a black grille, 18-inch wheels, available 20-inch wheels on the limited and platinum models. This gets 8 inches of ground clearance.
Yeah, I think the 18-inch wheels make it very comfortable. Like we said, we've been driving over different kinds of pavement here, and sometimes the bigger wheels look better, but the ride comfort really is with the smaller wheel.
Yeah, and it's interesting because we don't typically get the base model of a press vehicle, and so I'm pleasantly surprised about the value. As Zach and I said, there are other things it doesn't get. You'll notice that there's no panoramic sunroof. Now in the US, in the rear seat, you do get a bench seat or captain's chairs offering, so that's why we've got captain's chairs here. Now that center console is not removable on this particular model. In Canada, it's only a bench seat.
So the base model, the XLE, is where you get the bench seat, and then when you go up to those higher grades, you get to captain's chairs. I think for the this is a people mover. This is a minivan replacement. You don't want the frumpy minivan. You can get an SUV that's cool and has as much space, and I totally get it. I understand why people would want this.
Yeah, and I think in Canada, with the bench seat as an 8-passenger vehicle, getting all those creature comforts in here, you would be satisfied, and it would be budget friendly for you instead of going up to the other models. Of course, if you want those extra features, we're going to get into those trims in just a second.
Okay, so I really like the design. I mean, Toyota knows how to do logical. They do logical very, very well. And I think this is very logically laid out. There's the classic Highlander tray in the dash. I've got my sunglasses in there now. There's even a USB-C port next to it, so you can plug your phone in. Loads of USB ports, charging pad, big cup holders, big door cards. It's really logically laid out and well done.
It's very organized and lots of storage in here. As Zach said, there's even a little storage compartment on the passenger side that you can throw some little things in there, or
that's
even
where my
a small
microphone
purse.
is. Yeah. Oh, the other thing is, you want a fancier version? You just hold on. There's going to be a Lexified version of the Grand Highlander. We can't tell you about it yet, but stay tuned.
When it comes to the seats, they feel quite plush. I mean, I feel like my body is being cradled nicely, and there's plenty of thigh support.
I really like Toyota's density of the foam they use. As soon as I got in this, it feels like a big comfy chair. They're really logical about the way they go through the process of developing a vehicle like this, and they really went through it, and it's well thought out. Okay, let's get into the packages, Andrea.
Yeah. Move up one from the base model to the limited trim, and that adds a 12.3-inch digital driver display, panoramic view monitor, the 11-speaker JBL sound system, panoramic sunroof, leather trim seating, driver seat memory, ventilated front seats, 7-passenger seating with captain's chairs, heated second row seats, ambient lighting, and then the hands-free power tailgate. In the US, heated rear seats are standard on limited trims, but the panoramic sunroof and the panoramic view monitor are only available on platinum models. Now, I know many are interested in different color options for the interior. In Canada, the XLE and limited models have a black interior, whether it's Softex or you get leather trimmed. But the top trim has the option of a black leather interior or portobello, which is quite a nice color. In the US, well, you get an extra option. You've got a light gray interior on those lower trims, and then the top trim adds the same as Canada, but also the light gray option.
Now, speaking of seats, here's me getting in the second row seats. This is grande, it's big. And one thing that's really nice is that when you open the rear doors, they have a step there that's easy to get into the second row or maybe even get into the third row. We'll show you that in a sec. Of course, the seats slide fore and aft and they recline. Once again, captain's chairs or bench seat on the XLE.
Comparing the Grand Highlander to the Volkswagen Atlas and Kia Telluride, the Grand Highlander offers 41.7 inches of front row legroom, which is the same as the Atlas, but about 2 inches smaller than the Telluride. Second row legroom at 39.5 inches is bigger than the Atlas, but a little smaller than the Kia.
Here's me getting into the third row. This is really the game changer between the Highlander and the Grand Highlander. A huge rear seat at the back. Adults can even sit back here. You get plenty of space.
The Grand Highlander offers 33.5 inches of third row legroom, which is the same as the Atlas, but 2 inches more than the Telluride.
Opening the tailgate, they told us you can get 7 carry-on bags behind the third row seats when they're up. This has a lot of storage with the seats up and an enormous amount with the seats down.
Overall cargo space is 97.5 cubic feet, and behind the second row it's 57.9 cubic feet, which is more than these competitors. Space behind the third row at 20.6 cubic feet is the same as both the Atlas and the Telluride.
So humid here. We're sticking with water.
Time now for questions, coffee, and cars.
All right, your questions from Instagram.
Is there a real space difference between the regular Highlander and the Grand Highlander? For sure. Substantial difference.
You want to know the numbers? Here's the numbers. Dimensionally on the outside, the wheelbase is 4 inches longer.
Yeah.
The overall dimensions, bumper to bumper, is 6 inches, and it's 2 inches higher, but you really notice that on the inside.
Yeah, huge difference on the inside, especially the third row. This third row, an adult can sit back there. Toyota's done a really nice job where families are going to be able to grow into this 3-row SUV because the third row is such a great size. It would have been nice if they designed a pass-through lower console storage like what the Pathfinder and Pilot have, rather than just a cubby on the driver's side.
Well,
Yeah.
you know what? Another vehicle at the Toyota family that has the bridge where the console is the Sienna minivan.
Yeah.
And a huge space underneath. You can,
Yeah.
you know, hide your purse there, for example. I don't know. There's so much room in this. Do you need extra room?
I know there's so much storage, whether it's in the doors, at the center console. Even this is super deep.
Look at
it's
that.
Crazy
Like
how
this,
big it is.
This goes.
You can put a tablet.
That's how deep it is.
Yeah.
To go in there. It's massive.
So you can put your tablet in here and there's plenty of space. And yes, you're right, there is an extra cubby here, and they could have done a pass-through, but they decided to go with this. There's no problem with storage in this vehicle anyway. Is there a big difference between this and the Sequoia? Which would you choose? Well,
where do we even start?
I know. Well, you've got a body-on-frame truck SUV with the Sequoia, and this is not. This is much smoother. I would say that the Sequoia has a firmer suspension, and frankly, I don't love the layout in the Sequoia.
Okay, so the Sequoia is a performance hybrid.
Yeah.
So they're using the hybrid to give you extra power for towing and to do real truck stuff. But as Andrea mentioned, it really falls apart on the inside. We didn't like the inside of the Sequoia at all because the battery is back there. They had to raise the floor. The cargo space when the seats were down was narrow. Getting into the third row was cramped. This is way more comfortable. If you're moving people, this is the one you want.
I was really excited to get into this Grand Highlander and drive it. And I have to say, it's probably one of my favorite Toyota SUVs right now.
And now it's time for our hot topic. What's this one, Andrea?
With Toyota having 3 SUVs with a third row, does this Grand Highlander cannibalize the sales of the Highlander or 4Runner, Sequoia, even the Sienna?
So this is the base model, and I really enjoy the way this drives, and I'd be very tempted just to get this because it offers a lot of value. And I think when you look at the Highlander and you get the top trims, it just makes sense to really bump into this and get much more space.
Yeah.
And then when you compare it to like the Sequoia, as we mentioned already in Questions, Coffee, and Cars, this is much more useful for moving people around. I don't know. I think this is going to end up being the best seller.
It probably will cannibalize sales with the Highlander Highlander, and maybe the Sienna. But I think people who are buying the Sequoia or 4Runner, they're looking for body-on-frame SUVs. I think that's what they want, and they want something with maybe a firmer suspension. The Grand Highlander, as well as the Highlander, and even the Sienna, they just offer more comfort, right? A little bit softer suspension. It's more like a comfort level SUV for families to haul people around.
It's a people mover.
It's a people mover.
We mentioned it at the beginning. We're going to have a totally separate video on the hybrids.
Yeah.
This is focused on this gas model. What's the fuel economy and more in our vital stats.
Let's start with pricing. In Canada, these prices include fees and freight, excluding taxes. The base gas model starts at just over $53,500, and the top limited trim is just over $61,000. In the US, the base all-wheel drive model starts at just over $44,500, and the top trim is just over $53,500.
Here's the fuel economy for this 2.4-liter turbo. 11.2 liters per 100 kilometers in the city, 8.7 on the highway. That's 21 miles per gallon city, 27 miles per gallon highway. This gas model can tow 5,000 pounds, and the warranty is 3 years, 60,000 kilometers, or 36,000 miles. In the United States, complimentary scheduled maintenance is offered for 2 years, or 25,000 miles. So for your consideration, we've chosen 4 biggies that go up against this.
For your consideration, 4 vehicles for you to consider.
Up first is the Kia Telluride with a 3.8-liter V6, 291 horsepower, and a starting price just over $52,500.
Roughly the same size as this is the Volkswagen Atlas with a new 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder engine coming for 2024. It has 269 horsepower and the price has not been announced.
The new Honda Pilot with a 3.5-liter V6, 285 horsepower, and a starting price just over $52,500.
The Mazda CX-90 with a 3.3-liter inline 6-cylinder turbo with up to 340 horsepower and a starting price of just over $48,000.
So there are 4 3-row SUVs for you to consider.
Lightning round. 2 things we like, 2 things we'd like to see improved.
I really like how this handles. This engine is more than enough for most people.
The packaging is excellent.
One thing I am missing in here is the panoramic sunroof. I know I can go up a model to get it, but it would be nice if it was an a la carte item.
I'd like them to have a bench seat for all trims available.
We're really impressed with this Grand Highlander gas model. It really checks all the right boxes and super practical for families.
And really all you need at great value as well. Make sure you click on the card. We have a totally separate video on the Hybrid and the Hybrid Max with all that power. And what do we say now, Andrea?
Aloha!
Aloha. This video is brought to you by Car Cost Canada. Get the dealer's cost, list of rebates, plus discounted interest rates. Use the promo code Motormouth to become an expert member and get extra searches. The link is in the description below.